Hi, I'm Steve, and this is Tim, and this is another Erif Media news update brought to you by erifmedia.com. We find ourselves in the beginning of 2016, and we'd like to take a look back at 2015 and some of the noteworthy news happenings, world events, some of the stuff that happened in 2015. Of course, here in Canada, you can't talk about 2015 without looking at the federal election. The horrible era of Harper, or as it's so been labeled, was brought to an end when that new guy with the nice hair, Justin,
yeah, Justin Trudeau,
right, Justin Trudeau got elected in with a sweeping landslide here in Canada. Of course, the one question remaining to be answered is he Trudeau?
Well, we'll have to wait and see, Steve.
I guess so. Of course, after Trudeau was elected in, he formed his cabinet ministry of cabinets, cabinet of ministries, his ministry of magic. He made a very interesting decision to make sure his cabinet was comprised of half men and half women, which is, of course, the appropriate way to make such a decision.
Well, Steve, it was 2015.
That's what he told us.
So I would like to make a comment. I don't have a problem with having 50% women, 50% men making up the cabinet, whether it's in the government or the Senate. What I would like is to have the right person doing the right job. It doesn't matter to me what the sex is. That's the important issue.
That's barbaric, Tim.
I know, it's 2015.
You want the best person for the job? That's sexist. It might even be racist.
I don't give a damn.
One of the hot topics during the federal election was the niqab issue. Presumably you are familiar with that because it was kind of plastered all over Canada. In my opinion, the whole niqab issue was really just a way of deterring focus from some of the issues that they really should have been focusing on during the election.
I personally think it was a bunch of crap. Anybody that's coming to Canada as an immigrant and wants to be a Canadian citizen, I think that they should at least have the decency to expose their face when they're doing the swearing in. I understand from information that's come through from different parts that maybe the Americans or other parties were actually sponsoring a group to make a bit of a farce about all this. I don't know if it's true. I don't really care. Personally, I just think it's retarded.
Whoa.
It's not...
Whoa. First of all, you can't say retarded. That's a bad word in our society, Tim. Second of all, are you suggesting the Americans did something underhanded?
Oh, would I say that? No. And if I want to say retarded, I will say retarded because I think it was retarded. I don't give a damn.
So during the federal election, another issue that did not receive as much attention as the niqab, but really should have, and is a huge happening in our North American society and really the global society, is the T.P.P. The T.P.P. may be, as it's been stated in the Canadian press, one of the worst decisions Canadian lawmakers ever get us involved in. I'm personally amazed by how many people are not familiar with the T.P.P. or even have any concept of what it is or the implications of. I've even heard a lot of jokes regarding toilet paper being tossed out.
So, do you know what the T.P.P. stands for? It's Trans-Pacific Partnership. Basically, you have organizations controlling governments to set up a free trade deal with all these different 12 prospective countries.
Now, let's clarify a little. When Tim says organizations, he means global corporations.
Yes, sorry about that. Yes.
Another interesting tidbit out of the T.P.P. is that the T.P.P. would, just one of the provisions, it would align our labor standards with other signatory countries of the T.P.P., like Malaysia and Brunei.
That should be fun.
Yeah. The T.P.P., it's going to affect several areas of Canadian and North American culture and life. From labor standards, environmental regulations, trade, copyright stuff, There's a lot involved. It's so much more than just a trade deal, even though that's what they're toting it as. It's just a simple trade deal. Even though in the language of the title of it, the Trans-Pacific Partnership, the word trade isn't there. A partnership is. This is really what it is a partnership between these signatory countries.
All managed by the big corporations. Oh, I didn't say that.
Hey, Nike does some good things. Moving on. Or the suicide nets around the Apple factories. When the distressed Apple workers jump out the windows, they get caught in the suicide nets.
Really?
Yeah, that's true shit.
Well, I haven't heard that one.
Yeah, that's just a nice way to treat your employees, to put up suicide nets to stop them from killing themselves when they can't handle your labor standards anymore.
I've heard that in some of these countries, they actually, when the labor force comes in during the day, they literally lock the doors so they can't escape until their shift is done.
Yeah, 13 hours later. Oh. So another big happening here in Canada and around the world was the refugee crisis that erupted in 2015. This, of course, being very closely tied into the climate of terrorism and ISIS and the Middle East. And I mean, obviously, you probably are familiar with this, as most of the world is.
Thank you, USA.
Whoa. Well, what did the USA have to do with anything?
And Britain.
Well, what did Britain have to do with anything?
And Saudi Arabia.
Whoa. Saudi Arabia is a country full of good, hard-working government officials that would never cut off several people's heads in one.
I kind of got the impression that Saudi Arabia was actually supplying funds basically to cause this war with USA and Britain and other NATO countries to literally cause this whole Middle East crisis in Syria because they wanted to get rid of the president there. That was Obama's major agenda.
So with this refugee crisis and the immigration, the mass immigration from east to west, there's been a lot of tense situations that have arisen, mostly in Europe right now, regarding some unfortunate happenings. But unfortunately...
Are you talking about the rapes?
We're not allowed to talk about it, Tim.
Why not?
Because that's racist.
How can a person being raped be racist?
Anyway, the mainstream media really isn't covering the tension and some of the truth behind what's happening in Europe right now. And they need to be. I think there needs to be more of a discussion about, well, what happened on New Year's Eve, for example.
Oh, you mean the rapes?
Yeah, I mean the rapes. So hopefully here in North America, especially here in Canada, with us welcoming in so many of these refugees, which of course a lot of these people are true asylum seekers and truly disenfranchised people. But there's obviously also a lot of people with malintent or with less than great intents that are also joining this wave of immigration and refugees.
I have no problem whatsoever with migration of refugees into Canada. I think it's awesome. But I do hope that any of these people that are coming from a war-torn country realize that they're coming to a country that's value is based on peace and respect and tolerance of everybody. And I think as long as people will come in with that concept, they can have a really good life in Canada.
So another crisis we faced in 2015, or another crisis that was thrust into the limelight, was climate change. Of course, we had the monumental global climate summit in Paris last year, where our fascist global elite flew on their private jets and ate caviar and discussed about how they can oppress us with carbon taxes. Yay!
Okay, so we have to talk about this. So climate change is what they call it now. It was global warming. Before that was pollution.
Well, pollution caused global warming.
So we have the pollution that's causing global warming, which they've now called climate change. So
even though the climate is always changing, so we call it man-made climate change.
I think that's natural. I think that's part of nature, Steve.
Well, yeah, that's...
So my point is, So they've changed it from pollution to global warming to climate change. So they can now say it's the carbon's fault that's causing this man-made climate change. So they can now tax us, set up a global government that we now have to annually give $100 billion a year to do what?
To fight man-made climate change.
Oh, you mean the pollution? That's made and created, or at least the majority of it, by big corporations.
I think the best, most logical way to look at it is to look at the war on drugs and how successful it was, to look at the war on terror and how successful it was, and now we're going to have a war on the climate. Doesn't that just make sense?
Well, I'm not sure $100 billion a year is going to be able to do that, though.
Well, then we need to tax more. There needs to be more taxes.
And I'm sure that that's coming.
I am also pretty sure of that. Some other noteworthy happenings in 2015. There was CERN, which is the European Nuclear Research Center. They fired up the Large Hadron Collider with more power than ever before and opened up pan-dimensional gateways between here and wherever and created
Steve,
new...
I don't think that's what CERN was all about.
Well, let's agree to disagree. And of course, there was Trump. Even though he's an American politician, he had quite a presence here in Canada, or has, affected the narrative here in Canada.
I hope he gets elected.
I can't say I don't. I think he'll shake things up. Hopefully, he's not a corporate shill like some other presidents.
He's not afraid to say exactly what he wants to say, and maybe that's what we need. Get rid of this friggin' political correctness and get down to actually starting to resolve some of our world issues.
I agree.
Again, more political politeness bullshit.
Speaking of political politeness BS, Starbucks. There was the big controversy over the red Starbucks cup because apparently the satanic-run Starbucks was oppressing Christianity and Christmas, which they very well could have been, but I don't know that people needed to get so bent out of shape about it.
No.
How did you feel about Starbucks and their cup?
Well, I think the media kind of hyped it up to make it more than what it really was.
Another interesting revelation in 2015 was water found on Mars.
Awesome.
So that's something worth knowing, mentioning.
I think that's exciting.
I think it is exciting that not only have humans destroyed Mars, but now we're on our way to destroying Earth.
Oh. Was that our origin?
It very well could have been.
Oh.
I don't know. Maybe it's our future. Maybe it's our past and our future. Who knows? The mysteries of Mars. Well, you can't talk about newsworthy events in 2015 without mentioning the royal birth. I mean, that baby's more important than all the other babies. Another topic here in Canada that got a lot of news attention was the euthanasia issue, assisted suicide. Tim is a supporter of. I am also theoretically a supporter of euthanasia. However, I do think that there is a serious devaluation of human life going on in North America and the world over, and that is maybe just an avenue that will be exploited in such. But as Tim and I have often discussed, there will be a day when I euthanize him. So,
and I'm all for that.
Yes.
It all comes down to quality of life, and I want a good quality of life. If I don't have a good quality of life, then I'd rather go to my maker.
All right, moving on. We had Halloween. Halloween happened this year, and I learned from a lot of the media coverage that Halloween got that Halloween is now racist. So that was something.
Halloween is racist?
Yes, because you might dress up as something from another culture. Therefore, you're oppressing that culture.
It's called a costume.
Oh no, Tim! You if you dress up as a Greek god, you're oppressing Greek people. If you dress up as a cowboy, you could be oppressing cowboys. But it's okay to dress up as devils and ghouls and headless murderers and...
Well, wouldn't that be offending the devils and ghouls? Oh my God.
Also attached to Halloween this year, we had the EPA letting us know that pumpkins cause climate change and we should probably stop pumpkining. Apparently when the pumpkins decompose, they release something, carbon, methane, I'm not really sure. I read the article, but that was Halloween. So we need to stop the whole pumpkin Halloween tradition.
But didn't they put a new tax on that?
Well, of course they did.
Of course.
And right up there with pumpkins causing climate change, of course, Christmas trees cause climate change. So I'm sure Easter eggs do. And swimming pools, I would think. Another something that tickled me the right way this year was all of the focus on gender pronouns. Even here in Ontario, they removed the words mother and father from government forms because people might get offended that don't fit into those categories. There's now talk or some controversy over the census, having only a male and female option to check, box to check, that could offend people that don't identify as either male or female. I think that people need, instead of worrying about these bullshit issues, instead of worrying about whether or not your identity is on this form or the word you choose is on this form, maybe people need to learn to not let words have power over them. Maybe people need to have enough self-worth and enough understanding of the world around them to know that scratch out the word mother and write in whatever you call yourself, or just check both male and female, or add your own box, or just, you don't need to go around whining and protesting because you feel like you're being victimized by words and by institutions that have been around forever.
And it comes right down to stupid common sense. I mean, oh my God, either you're male or you're female. Either you're a mother or you're a father.
Whoa. What if I'm a mother that identifies as a male?
Then you're a masculine mother, but you're still the mother.
But what box do I check? Exactly.
And that's exactly the whole point. It's absurd.
It's up to the individual to not let those words have power over you. There was an article I read where the author was saying that every time someone refers to her as a woman, she loses a little bit of her self-worth and blah, 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 blah. If that's the true situation, you need to reevaluate your own ideologies because nobody calling you a word should bring you down that much. So we had the Bilderberg Group meet this year in Austria. If you don't know about the Bilderberg Group, you should Google that because
you should.
The Bilderbergs, they had representative from Google that gave them information about the state of the AI, the artificial intelligence, and the supercomputers, the robots, that whole transhuman happenings. Apparently, luckily for us humans here on Earth, the artificial intelligent robot revolution is ready to begin. So, something to look forward to. And the Pope came out, and he's also in support of global government, especially to help fight climate change. So of course, is
he getting a cut of that $100 billion that we're supposed to put in annually?
Well, he drives a very simple car, Tim, and he only flies on his private jet a couple times a year.
Oh.
The Pope is for world government in support of climate change, or in support of fighting climate change, or whatever, which I think means God also is down with world government. The Pope also spoke out for wealth redistribution, so that's something.
So he's going to give some of the stuff away?
No, everyone else will.
Oh.
Yeah. He also announced that World War III had begun, so that's something interesting.
The unfortunate part of that is it may very well happen.
Another interesting Pope tidbit was this Christmas, when the Pope announced that this, for those who choose to celebrate, that this could be their last Christmas. So, if that's not a bit of a doomsday warning, who knows? And that was 2015. Brought to you by Erif Media. Not 2015, just this video.